I got a fever, and there's only one prescription, and that's more intro. I love that. I love that. Greetings. I'm your host, Jason Miles, and welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Podcast. So glad to have you guys with us here live, and of course, happy to not see you guys that are going to be here on the rewatch, and of course, the audio only podcast. Checking in with us later. Before we start, if you're new to the channel, please hit that like button, subscribe, and the bell so you're notified whenever we go live. We're constantly adding new shows and doing cross streams with other channels. It's like last night, we did a show. You guys wouldn't even know it was coming. As always, thank you to the subscribers on YouTube and Twitch and the audio-only podcast formats you find us on. Also, thanks to our patrons. Collectively, you are the fuel and the engine that keeps TIR moving along. So if you're enjoying what we do and want access to the post-show champagne room, which we will be going in this evening, there's only one way. Become a patron for as little as $3 a month or $30 for the year. You can have access to champagne rooms past and present, be part of the live virtual audience for the Pascal Robert hosted Mau Mau Hour, which will be going down next Wednesday. And also, you get to join us for a movie night. So that sounds awesome. And can't forget, tickets are on sale now for the live book launch that I'll be at November 18th in Fairfield, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. So wherever you're watching or listening to this show, there should be links in the description for that event. That being said, let me bring in the faceless voice of reason, M. Toussaint.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Good to see
I can see you.
You can see me, but we can't.
I can see anybody.
You. Dr. Claw, who has called this show and has been part of this show for at least 2 years, at least 2+ years, could punch me in the testicles. I would have no idea who it was.
Wow.
No idea.
I guess you have a lot of people who would punch you in the testicles.
I think so. I don't
You wouldn't know.
feel like, you never know what people do, who you piss off, because we can't see them.
Can't see them.
And then they have fake names. They buy tickets to the event. It's like Henry Jordan. You have no idea Henry Jordan is Dr. Claw. He has a little weird voice, and then he's like, "It is me," and then bam.
I thought Dr. Claw was a real name. I thought he was a doctor.
A doctor.
I thought he
A doctor even. Well, we discussed it the other day, and we decided we were going to open up the phone lines once again on this show for the main show. We usually keep the phone lines for the patrons in the champagne room. We haven't done it too much. And the last time we did the phone lines, how many hours did that show last for, Toussaint?
3.5 hours.
Jesus Christ.
We're not going to do that again, folks. Keep your calls 10 minutes.
I was under strict orders from Madame Toussaint that we were not going 3 hours, because we are going to the champagne room, where there's definitely some hilarity that will ensue. We'll probably continue the conversation because we actually don't know which way this conversation is going to go, because the one thing I do like opening up the phone lines is you guys get to direct the conversation. Unlike last time, though, there is something I did want to talk about a little bit. And it's kind of about the right winning the messaging war. We've all said it on this show, and our guest this past Tuesday, Charles Derber, even wrote a book about it in 2018. But we don't have a left in this country, but we do have leftists, as my co-host Pascal Robert always says. Because of that, we have a bunch of people that may morally feel a certain way about an issue, but possess no real power to force changes to any real policies. For example, many people took to the streets to protest the overturning of Roe v. Wade, as it marked an end to legal abortion. But as we said on this show, about 6 months before the decision even came down, abortion was never codified in the law, and that right was always on shaky ground. Some conservative states already had several laws making it difficult or even to even attempt to get an abortion, or charging women for felonies for fatal fetal accidents while pregnant. Take the 2019 Alabama case where a pregnant woman was shot during an altercation, and altercation with another woman, and her unborn baby died. The woman who was shot was actually charged with manslaughter, not the shooter, since authorities found that she did not keep the fetus out of harm's way. Again, this was years before the repealing of Roe v. Wade. What caused this ability to believe that fight was over with that titular decision in 1973? Obama ran on codifying Roe, but never found the time was right to get it done. For the most part, the American people, and definitely the Democrats, were okay with it because he was consistently under attack by the right. Were we all stuck in a liberal malaise of 8 years of Clinton's economic stimulation through exorbitant amounts of credit and deregulation? Was it the failure of the anti-war movement, the 2008 economic crash, and a feeling of powerlessness during the Bush years that allowed us to accept Obama's campaign promises failures? Or was it the fear of the idea of a return to right-wing warmongering leadership? Whatever it was, we can't deny that a victorious liberal glee was present during the Obama years. But other than more Black people and women in positions of massive political power, Roe was never codified, and Obama's reluctance to address hundreds of federal court vacancies allowed the following Trump administration to simply take a list from the Federalist Society and make a more conservative federal judiciary all the way up to the Supreme Court level. The right is better funded and more prepared to play the long game. They're strategizing, for victory and attacking, while we are simply reacting to more outrageous legislation. And these anti-LGBTQ plus bills, over 490 in the past year, aren't only in red states. Again, this latest legal fight that includes the powerful Liberty Justice Center, those are the people that got the Janus decision done, involved on the behalf of the school district, is happening in the Democratic supermajority state of California. And this is from an article in the Christian Science Monitor. The Chino Valley Unified School District is also one of the area's largest employers, serving 26,000 students across 34 schools in Chino and Chino Hills. Just over 7% of the district's families live below the poverty line, slightly less than the national rate of nearly 9% for families. The ethnically diverse district is mostly Hispanic, 55%, Asian, 20%, and white, 12%. On July 20th, the school board, by a 4-1 vote, passed the policy that requires schools to alert parents within 3 days if their child takes any action to indicate a gender transition. That includes asking to be called by a different name, using a different bathroom, or asking to play on a sports team for a different gender. In some cases, parents would not be alerted if staff felt the student would be in danger, according to the policy. What do you think of that policy, Toussaint?
Sorry?
What do you think of that policy, Toussaint?
Policy sucks.
Thanks for,
It's not expert opinion.
Did I stop you from texting for like 5 seconds?
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Like, what? Sorry.
I was reading the chat.
Why would you do that?
I know. That's like, I know.
You're killing me. A spokesperson for Mr. Bonta, that's Rob Bonta, the California State Attorney General, says California's lawsuit against the district does not question the role of parents in the lives of children. Rather, it is safeguarding students' physical, mental, and emotional well-being. While many transgender or gender nonconforming youth are fortunate to have parents or guardians who are accepting of their gender identity, others are not so lucky. His office wrote in an email, Chino Valley's forced outing policy endangers those who do not have accepting or supportive home environments and creates a discriminatory environment for gender nonconforming students. Nationally, 1.4% of students between the ages of 13 and 17 identify as transgender, according to data from the Williams Institute and UCLA School of Law. That figure actually drops to 0.5% of adults. Why do you think that the right is waging this war on such a small population of young people?
I'm trying to figure out why they felt it was important to put in that figure drops to 0.5% of adults.
You think that's a bad thing to put in there? I mean, I got this from the Christian Science Monitor. Like, you have to keep that in your mind.
All right. I think it's the idea that they changed their mind. They're young,
Mm-hmm.
but also it could actually mean people are unaliving themselves, not making it to adulthood.
That's actually I didn't get to put that in the script, but there was another study done that said that about trans youth are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. And of the study that they took, and I can't remember which school did the study. It was Kaiser. Actually, it was Kaiser did the study, so it wasn't a school. Kaiser did the study. 30% of the trans youth in the study said they had faced homelessness.
Heartbreaking.
It is. It is. This is an extremely small, marginalized population. The right openly says they can't break through the California state legislature supermajority, and they are taking their attack of the LGBTQ plus people to the school boards, and they're gaining seats on these boards and a voice in the conversation around education and children's safety. For them, it's the left and Marxists in power. Now, these Marxists they speak of are simply liberal Democratic Party operatives. But since the U.S. waged a brilliant anti-communist campaign for the last 3 generations, there's a lot of people that don't know about Marx and what he believed. Many people can say they're Marxists. Take the trained Marxists of BLM. That line was used as proof to the right of what Marxist thought consists of, when in fact the BLM project was deployed to kneecap real leftist redistributive policies in the name of not having a black agenda. We are in a moment of hyper politics and witnessing an overly politicized populace that only understands politics as choosing the right side. Just show me who the bad guy is. Good bad binary is proving disastrous in the face of the reality that through the early days of peak COVID, institutions lied and failed the American people. This deterioration of faith in government institutions helps to create a fertile field for the right to plant their seeds of dissent. And on that note, let's open up the phone lines and hear what you guys have to say.
Yay.
So, Toussaint, be entertaining while I open up the phone line.
I need to log in too, Be entertaining. What did the snowman say to the other snowman? Does it smell like carrots in here? I stole that from Cory Doctorow when Jason told him to be entertaining. I guess I should just have a list of corny jokes on hand for whenever Jason says to be entertaining. I think that would work. I'm excited to see what's on your minds tonight. Lots of news. Lots of things going on in our personal lives. We're going to have to keep it to 10 minutes for that.
Sorry about that. Now we're back. Phone lines are open.
Phone lines are open.
You know what you didn't do, Toussaint? You didn't put the phone number on the screen. Killing me.
Sorry, Jason.
Killing me. That joke was funny. Does it smell like carrots? Because I had to get up and figure out what was going on. That's when the whole system just went haywire.
Yeah, that was good times.
Yeah. I wish that was the most not fun I think I've had since doing this show. We've had a lot of not fun moments on the show.
A lot of not fun moments.
Someone said, I've got jokes about unemployment, but they don't work.
Nice.
We used to have the pss, and I don't know where that went. I think we lost it for one of the other vulgar things that are on the soundboard that MT would like me not to press during the main show. And I will restrain myself. I will restrain myself from not pressing it. But bigger than that, We want to hear what you guys want to talk about. You do not have to respond to anything I said. I just wanted to get that out there. I would like to hear what you guys have to say about that, though. If you do want to respond to that, I would definitely love to hear it. If you don't want to call in and respond to it, definitely leave a response in the comments. I will read it. I might even respond to you. Might not.
Ooh. Might not.
Sometimes people are mean.
Never know. Crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. Every time I look at those comments, I'm always like, right.
It's fine. People
So
like you.
We have some calls already. Do you want to push a call through?
Calls already? It didn't log me in.
You didn't? Oh my God.
What's going on?
Someone says Jason moves to Mexico and buys a Zorro outfit.
Here it is. Jesus.
See, this is why the show is great to listen to when you're like driving or working, but it's just a different experience when you're watching it with us live. Someone says, was the rim shot deleted in favor of hard candy? I think the rim shot was deleted. Yeah, I think so.
That's funny.
No, I think actually let go of my penis is what
oh God.
I was able to use that yesterday, by the way, effectively.
Sometimes it's not effective. I do hear that.
That's why I haven't used it in hell long, and I was like, oh, I almost said I was able to pull it out, but that would have been bad.
Hey.
That would have been.
That would have been pretty bad.
Well, do you want to push one of the calls through?
Call has been pushed. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
No, you got to tell them the area code. They don't know who they are.
Area code. Calling from area code 617.
Yo, is this me?
Yes.
Oh, hey, how's it going, man? It's Giuliano again.
Hey. What's going on?
Well, I mean, you started off with a pretty depressing topic, but I guess it's not that much more depressing than the one last week. So yeah, the whole the right's winning the conversation about basically making life miserable for trans people.
Well, everybody, they're also winning the conversation.
Everybody, yeah, but
definitely the trans
that was a
thing,
good example.
I wanted to use that as a good example because it's also part of a big discussion that always happens online. People get in fights over it, and I don't want to get into who is a what and what is a what. Like, let's just talk about the people that exist now and the war that's going on about the people that exist now, and think about an even broader conversation about the way we discuss crime, the way we discuss homelessness. Like, we're losing all these battles, and the right is winning, and they got legislation that's rolling things back to an era that I think many of us thought was over. And I guess it never really was.
Yeah, it is very disturbing how quickly. Sorry,
go ahead.
It's very disturbing how quickly things have turned around. Like, you were talking about friggin' police abolition like 2 years ago, and now it's how much like the 1990s can we possibly make this?
I really feel that way.
I mean, yeah, I was really old enough to be cognizant of the way things were back then, but looking at it on retrospect, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is starting to seem very familiar historically. Like, we're getting all this tough on crime nonsense, the exaggerated details. And I mean, I live in a pretty messed up city. I'm not like ignorant of the fact that crime is a problem. I mean, like, I can remember a couple of years ago, the nice lady up the street found a corpse in her trash can. You can't really have like well-formed opinions about these things if you don't live in areas where they happen. But also, like, strict policing doesn't really make it better. It just makes it seem like somebody's doing something about it. That makes sense.
No, it does. I think one of the worst.
And I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, like, go. Like,
I think one of the worst things we can say is when people say, well, 30 years ago, crime was way worse, because that kind of plays into the narrative that we were right with locking everybody up. Because then, I mean, if someone said that to me, and every time I hear that, someone goes, well, if we look at the numbers 30 years ago, we're a much more violent society. And it's like, okay, well, the solution to that was lock everybody up and put them under the jail for long periods of time, even redefine what violent crime is. That was the solution to that, right? So if you're saying that,
that's a really bad way to talk,
right? So like, we probably should just go back 3 years. Go ahead.
What I would say is like do a comparison to like other countries where the police aren't absolute psychopaths and they have lower crime rates. And that seems like the most obvious thing. Sorry, I live in the city. I don't know if you heard that just now.
That's fine. You're fine.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, like, and I mean, like people are going to make all kinds of stories in their heads about why countries like Norway aren't like comparable to the United States. But like, I've seen what their jails look like, and they're nicer than apartments that I've been in. And like, just having a comprehensive rehabilitation program that's actually a rehabilitation program and not either a labor camp or a torture factory would probably help in terms of recidivism. And as for policing, I mean, obviously we're not going to get rid of cops like until we get the magical space communist utopia that we all want. And we're not going to be alive to see that anyway. So while we have cops, they should probably be from the neighborhoods that they're policing, and they should have more oversight. And like, it's one thing if you give them cameras and they can turn them off, but like half the time they don't need to turn them off because no one's going to do anything about the footage in the first place. There has to be like actual accountability. And you got these mayors that are basically terrified of their own police outfits. Like that needs to be like, the feds need to come down on that shit. Like you can't have police that are basically running governments.
Like LA. Well, LA for a long time, it's a little
like LA or like New York. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know that it's that way in Boston. I've heard very conflicting stories about it. I don't actually live in Boston. I live in a city next door to it. But I mean, our cops are relatively like, I feel like the crime in where I'm from has been so consistently bad for so long that they have better things to do than fuck with people. Makes sense.
I get that. I know what that's like.
They're like preoccupied dealing with like daily overdoses and shootings. And it really, it's like, let me put it this way. I've been pulled over like twice in my life for like committing like vehicle related crimes because, like speed limits and the Massachusetts data aren't exactly the most adhered to things, but occasionally you do push the limit. And it's very rare to get pulled over like around here or do anything, even minor shit. Like the cops just don't have the patience.
No, I get it. That's kind of like where I grew up in Richmond, California. Police really didn't mess with us. It wasn't until I started traveling as a slightly older person and going to places like Los Angeles where the police were more like a gang that I really saw. New York, definitely, I dealt with cops on a level that was very foreign to me, again, growing up where I grew up. I think when we think about kind of a Nordic model when it comes to rehabilitation, we also have to keep in mind that regardless of what you're doing in your rehabilitation center, so for example, Governor Gavin Newsom has proposed to turn California state prisons into quote unquote rehabilitation centers and really has a rehabilitation mindset with the prison system, right? You can get a college degree in prison in California. That being said, you're also, kind of deployed with no services. I think you get like $200 when you get out, and it's like, go figure it out. You got to sit in a
and that's the other half of the whole Nordic thing. They have like a comprehensive social safety net, and they have services for you on the outside, not just the inside. And we basically need to rework all of society at once to fix these problems, because there's no like one simple trick to solve like the crime issue, because crime is a complicated thing.
And that's one of those things where the messaging, in my opinion, gets hard to do because we see things in absolutes on both sides of the political issue, I believe. For example, Tucson has said this several times, more so to me. I don't know how much she said it on the show, and maybe she'd like to elaborate. But the idea that we could fix all problems by just defunding the police. Do you want to kind of explain that more, Toussaint? I don't want to step on you or misquote you.
Oh, sure. There was an idea that we would fix all the problems by defunding the police. We would divert all the funds all to the right places. We would give social workers guns or swords or whatever, and that would make everything better. I don't know. It was magical thinking.
And it's that same magical thinking, in my opinion, that causes us not to be able to say this is a long-term problem, and you're not going to fix it in 5 years. You're not going to fix it in one mayoral or gubernatorial administration. It's going to take time. We're going to make errors along the way, but some of these policies, we shouldn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater because we don't see an instant success.
Yeah, and like just in terms of defunding the police, I mean, I kind of agree in principle that's part of a larger program, but the cops are basically a heavily militarized gang, and we saw what happened when you tried to defund them. They just like refused to do their jobs at all, just like as big babies tend to do. And then crime went up, and they're like, "Oh, see what happens?" Like you need to actually put the screws to those guys. You can't like just. It's like when this is a weird comparison, but it's like when they did de-Ba'athization in Iraq and all the Iraqi army guys are basically told to go home. Like what happened? They immediately, they formed basically the predecessor of ISIS. Like you need to deal with the violent trained men that are used to being able to do whatever they want with a gun. Essentially is what I'm saying.
Well, that should have been part of the plan, right? What do you do after that messaging actually wins a political foothold? And the messaging did win a political foothold to kind of reallocate money to different departments. And then it just had a mode of cops not liking it. So I don't know if it's as simple as I wouldn't say it was as simple as like cops just didn't do anything. I will say that did happen. But you also have to keep in mind that also a lot of municipalities started to change what was going to be considered a criminal offense. So in California, you change what's grand theft. So anything under, I think, like $950 or $1,000 is like a misdemeanor. So that's when you see those people like bust into the stores and they steal a bunch of stuff. It wasn't even $1,000 worth of stuff they were stealing, right? And now we're talking about what you stole and what the street value is. And it pales in comparison to how much money people are making with the flow of cheap cocaine from South America. There's no way in the world you could steal from enough Walmarts to make up what even maybe one street corner in Los Angeles was making in the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh yeah, no, like this is all small time stuff, and these people are desperate, and that's like that comes back to the underlying problem of like what caused this crime, and the answer is usually given simply poverty. We are an incredibly poor society, incredibly unequal society, and an incredibly desperate society, and you have the combination of people who either don't have enough money or are stressed from working like 5 different jobs, and they're like one bad conversation away from going postal and shooting a place up. It's like, yeah, obviously you're going to have increased levels of crime. And like after COVID, when everybody was basically cooped up for periods of time or had to work even harder because they weren't allowed to, because they were like essential.
But do you think
you
everybody
with people as a society long enough? Sorry.
But do you think I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you think everybody though that robbed all those stores had babies crying in the room and were a day away from losing everything?
Oh, of course not.
And I think
some of them just wanted shit.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the messaging war that we're really not good at, because we kind of mythologize crime as everyone is a very poor person with a dirt smudged face that has to steal, food to survive. And while that does happen in some cases, the pictures that people were seeing were not of the random unhoused person, pocketing food that they were going to eat later in their encampment. It was cats stealing shit because they wanted to steal shit. And
exactly.
And how do we address this kind of feeling of I think what did Durkheim call it? The rulelessness enemy. How do we talk about this when we always have to mythologize what we think criminal behavior consists of.
Well, I mean, we got to stop doing that. We got to be real about what's happening. But the problem with any left-wing messaging will always be, what we have to explain is the truth, which is way more complicated than like put them under the jail, which is what any conservative will say. Like they have a very simple message that they can get across, and it's appealing to people because it's simple. We have to explain why society's fucked, and that's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, we have to explain why there is a darkness in a lot of our inner city areas, and I think we have a problem with that messaging. I don't know all the right words, to be honest with you. You know, that's again why I try to have these conversations, because I think we learn when we have these things together. So
yeah, I think we just need to, I mean, we need to expose the fact that conservatives are lying with their simple messaging. We need to explain that these things are actually more complicated before we can then explain them, because otherwise people will think they're just talking their ears off. Like, yeah, we need to just, you know, like treat people like adults and explain to them, to the extent that they're able to listen to us, what is actually happening. And like, yeah, some people are just stealing shit just to steal shit because they're fucked up. But why are they fucked up? I mean, like, you go back long enough and there usually is like a story behind that.
mm-hmm.
And like, you know, like, I'm not saying we should like make heroes out of criminals, but at the same time, you know, they're still human beings and something happened to them to cause them to be criminals. And, you know, these are factors in society that have to be examined and approached and dealt with. At least that's the way I look at it.
That's fair. I have no problem with that. Toussaint, do you concur?
I concur.
Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We are going to move on and get some more of these calls.
No problem. Thank you.
Hey, have a good night, brother.
Have a good night.
What'd you think, Toussaint?
Good call.
Good call. That's a, you know what?
Good call.
That's a good way. You know what? You need to bat lead off from now on.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
No, the caller needs a bad lead off. You effed up when you weren't prepared and you were checking your text messages.
I was looking at the chat.
You're looking at the chat.
Chad is wearing a low-cut shirt tonight.
Oh God. I'm so mad at you.
I couldn't help it.
So mad at you. I'm trying to be serious here and talk about the problems in the community, and you over here looking at titties.
Sorry.
You people think I'm the menace.
It's a hot chat.
It's the hot chat. Yeah, the chat has a BBL. It has a BBL and a low cut shirt.
I was powerless to stop myself.
Oh my God. You wanna
Yeah, let's do the next call.
Jesus Christ. Do your thing.
Calling from a 216 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Dr. Claw calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow! Hey, Dr. Claw.
How you doing, man?
I'm okay. Don't punch me.
How you doing, MT?
Doing good.
No, it's far. No, I'm not going to punch you in the balls. If I were to do something like that, you would absolutely know it was me. I'm a very distinctive person in person. I apologize in advance because I am going to go all over the place with these commentaries, but I want to start with some of the recent episodes that I've enjoyed. The October 5th Champagne Room with John Graham. MT was in rare form in that Champagne Room. I was laughing my ass off. Like, the truly common had me dying. I actually enjoyed the 4th episode. I really enjoyed the episode with Cory Doctorow. He hits on so many things that I dislike about the current everything is rent economy.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, On top of my actual rent, these motherfuckers tried to charge me $8.95 or however much a month for some kind of service that sees how on time you're paying your rent and everything. I'm just like, no. You had to call these jabronis to like cancel. I'm just like, man, no, you're not paying. After you pay rent on top of rent, get out of here.
That is weird.
So that really hit home.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was really cool, and I'm actually going to leave a lengthy comment on that Dr. Lowe episode because he touched on it, was talking about how some of the things you kind of take for granted, like, you know, how Apple got Microsoft Office apps to work on their computers.
Yes.
Would it be absolutely illegal now under the DMCA, which is, if you talk about the events that happened in my lifetime that kind of radicalized me, that DMCA, I remember that in real time, and I just had disdain for everybody who voted for that pile of crap. And now we can see some 20 plus years on, just how much of a pile of crap it actually has been. And I'll bring that up later. But what I wanted to talk about was last night, I think it was last night or earlier, yeah, it was last night, the Red Zone show. You always enjoy it when you and Mac talk about sports, but also the stories around sports. Every once in a while, Mac will come up with this wild story that just goes off the rails and it's hilarious. The whole bit about the cologne that smelled like crap, that was gold. I really enjoyed that. But I do have some comments about some of the things that were said there. I think, first of all, his portrayal of the average Browns fan is dead on. And you know that he lived in Northeast Ohio because of that. But lately, in the last year, I mean, I've lived here for 20 years, so I did this in real life a lot, but especially in this last couple of years, last year, I've been commiserating a lot with Browns fans, particularly on Twitter and in the spaces, and they kind of know me from that now. And the whole Watson topic is one of those things where I kind of diverge from the liberal progressive consensus about him as it pertains to him off the court. And all I'll say about that is the two flashpoints that got us to the point where the controversy went to fever pitch were two things that happened in sequence. Actually three things. The first thing was when the whole NFL protests were happening from himself. He actually said, and there were some comments made by the owner. He had said publicly that he wasn't with that, and he was also, really calling him out. Of course, that probably didn't go well with the video game bosses that run that league anyway. But that was strike number one. And then strike number two was when the Texans, for some reason, after becoming a playoff team, decided they were just going to blow the thing up.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's getting traded. And Deshaun committed the most cardinal sin that he could have committed. And that was withdrawing his labor. He straight up said, I'm not playing. Trade me. And almost like clockwork, boom goes the dynamite. I think that was something that was said in the episode. Yeah, so then that happened. And I don't think you can really discount that, but regardless of the truth of the matter, and to be very clear, nobody knows what that is at this point because we never got a chance to actually adjudicate that properly. The bottom line is that he did get himself in that position that he could have avoided being vulnerable as he was in that moment where he decided to withdraw his labor. And it's a similar topic that I brought up. Now some people understand it, but there was a similar time I brought this up when the whole Kyrie Irving thing went down. Now, him linking to that video and exposing the rest of America to black nonsense, yeah, that was dumb. Probably should have gotten fined or whatever for it. But I started to change my tune and really get upset when the ADL got involved. Like, you don't need to call Greenblatt and Ocean. They should not be a part of this conversation. And one of the things I said in that situation is that Kyrie and Kanye before him, but mostly Kyrie, lost sight or was completely ignorant to his relationship to the means of production. That is to say, don't matter how rich you are individually, these people, the people that actually own the capital, that pay your money, the people that pay you all this money in endorsements, if you do something that they don't like, you're just like everybody else who has a job. They can cut you off right then and there. Now, as we look into and I'm going to veer off a little bit, so pardon me on this. So now that we are in the latest iteration of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we're starting to find out that some other, more people are either very cognizant of their relationship to the means production, LeBron James, or a recent, one situation that I thought was absolute bullshit. So there is a writer. So in the NBA, when the Hamas attacks started happening, and then all the usual propaganda stuff getting fed out there, the NBA universally started putting up support. We stand with Israel. We stand with this. And we do. And I was like, oh God, please do not bring this into my basketball. Please stop. But one guy who did write for the Philly Voice, Jackson Frank, who I think is one of the genuinely good guys in media, NBA basketball media. He actually, not only does he have good takes and good analysis, he's also not one of those guys who tends to write assholia when he's talking about these athletes. And, he's been on podcasts I like listening to about basketball. And I just thought he was a really good guy. Well, he just said, basically when the Sixers, the team he covered, and actually moved out there to write for them, put up their Israel support tweet. He quote tweeted it and said, "This is not cool. This sucks. Come on, guys, do better." And of course, Philly Voice just cut him off immediately. And I just found it kind of ironic that when in less savory situations, like the Kyrie situation, when you make the point that, or even the Watson situation, like when you make the point that you lose sight of your relationship to the means production. Like, I'll give Max some credit on the whole Watson topic by acknowledging that the Texans had a very significant role that they don't talk about, knowing and enabling and setting up some of those situations. And the fact that the organization knew that, they could put something on him, he lost sight of that. And when he decided to do what I consider was a courageous thing, and you see it's routine in basketball, like in sports. We saw it with Kobe when he said when the Lakers weren't doing what they were supposed to do, they're like, well, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I want to get traded out of here. Giannis has been softly saying, or kind of hinting at, hey, we need to do something with this team so that before I start looking somewhere else to go. Well, they responded by, we're going to get Dame Lillard for you, and, those guys know where they sit, but those guys lost sight of what they said, and they paid dearly for it. Well, kind of, but, that aspect of the whole discussion just gets dismissed because of the salacious nature of everything. And I kind of think now that some people that were, banging the drum about getting this guy out of here, then you saw what happened to Jackson, and I was just like, dude, this is exactly why. And this whole week, these last couple of weeks has been really frustrating. And, I have not tweeted a single thing about it. I have been very quiet about it, but I think people know where I stand. I think more people should educate themselves as to the history of that particular nation state. For example, doing things like aiding South Africa, and, showing the news and stuff like that. They should really educate themselves on that. But it's just been very disappointing from seeing people in the leftists and not even taking a nuanced stance. It's basically sounding like, your garden variety, like, quote unquote liberal. I call them quote unquote liberal because there's really nothing liberal about it. But that, it's just really crazy. So, but again, even though we might have disagreements with it, I really love the analysis. I love the talking about stuff. My Eagles are struggling because of the offensive coordinator. That's really the most controversial thing about them. Your Broncos, I know you talked about it recently. I think you guys came to a pretty good conclusion with Sean Payton and just the state of the team and just get the fire sale going, recoup some draft capital, do what you can. Because as constructed, it's just it's not working, and it's kind of embarrassing. You know that.
Yeah.
I know you guys didn't get to talk a lot about go deep into the college football, but I just want to big up my Tar Heels who are 6-0. I do think your analysis of Mac Brown and the defense in particular is on point. But offensively, they've really been really good. They really looked really good. They played Miami, and aside from some lazy defense in the fourth quarter, they were just dominating. I was like, wow, this team is better than I thought they were. And I hope they continue it up.
Hey, Mac and I both agree that never trust a North Carolina quarterback.
I mean, I don't look. I don't ever. I don't ever. I have realistic expectations of what this team will do. I'm just used to them being kind of middle pack, whatever. Yeah. But when they do good things, I like to see it. And I think Drake May, he's going to end up somewhere. Hopefully on a team that I dislike. Speaking of which, I'm kind of on the Penix to the Patriots train.
Ooh.
Because Mac Jones' confidence levels have dipped. I think the Patriots have way more problems in the QB. They have needs, particularly. They need to have more. They need to have better wide receivers.
Yeah.
I like their tight end, but there's just so many things with that offense not right. And I also agree with the idea that Belichick, I don't think he's going to get too bad. They probably do need to get an actual GM because just his choices and ideas for who should be staffing stuff as wide receivers, it's just not working for them. And then are also in a division where you have to deal with at least two teams and possibly a third one in the Jets once whatever happens with their quarterback situation, happens. They're going to be really fighting to be competitive in that division. It's about that fun time of the year. But NBA, NBA, there's a lot of interesting topics. Again, on the Israel topic, my Cavaliers played a team from Israel. I think it's Maccabi Ranana, and totally whooped their ass. And I was happy to see that. Shout out to Monty Bates and Craig Porter Jr., two promising rookies that won't be in the starting lineup, but might be someday. Like what I saw from them. But kind of on a general note, outside of this, because I thought there were some other good topics on top of topics, and that's why I appreciate the discussions you have on this show about one thing I thought was really cool that Coach Will said, F this AAU stuff. If you're going to come through this neighborhood, these areas, and you want to play competitive basketball, go through us, don't go through the other people. I like that he did that. That was really cool. What else was I going to say? There was something that, I think it was when Ben Burgess was on the show.
That guy.
And, I think it was. You guys there was a side comment about Los Angeles and specifically around the whole, district attorney's office and, the 90s, LAPD trial that happened in Simi Valley to ensure a certain outcome. And the thought that I said, and I think I might have said this in the chat, is that Gil Garcetti does not get criticized as loudly as he should be. Maybe I'm pretty sure people in Los Angeles have a lot of things about him, but nationally, no. I think with 3 pretty high-profile cases, at least, that we all know, including that LAPD case. The thing that I think is the most, the pernicious thing about him, the most like revolting thing about him is that a lot of the actions he took, and he's not unique in this, but a lot of the actions he took as district attorney were meant to, were vain attempts at rehabilitating the image of the LAPD, who, you know how Dallas Cowboys are called like America's team in football? Well, the LAPD was like America's police department, but they were always the TV, like the cops you would see on TV.
Chips.
Like Adam 12, Dragnet, Chips. Yeah. All of those shows, those cop shows before like the 80s, maybe like later in the 80s, like they were all set in like Los Angeles or in that Southern California. And that the uprising in the 90s, the Rodney Kings and just all the stuff that led up to all that stuff completely sunk the national reputation of it. Like when you, like now, as you should, when you say LAPD, not good things are associated with it. But like every case, like so many cases, including the OJ case, that one was a really big one because of the things that didn't really make it to the newsrooms, or at least were kept out of the newsrooms. I think Garcetti had a lot to do with, among some others. But I've read in various books about the trial, really exposed Garcetti as one of those guys who was out there just to get W's on the scoreboard for the state of California, and particularly rehabilitate the image of the LAPD, all the effed up things that we're doing and continues to. And you know, he's been long gone from that office, but the family still is active in California politics. And if you've read any of my tweets, you know that I'm very critical of California politics, and it makes me seem that I'm just like so harsh on them, particularly them in New York. It's not like the usual MAGA. So the commies that run this stuff. It's no. Anybody who lives there knows that's not the case. And it just kind of highlights some of my frustrations with the way the public responds to some of these things, even leftists, even communists that respond to some of these things because of the salacious nature of these things. It really frustrates me because you don't take the time to look back into the actual facts of the situation. And that's like the thing that usually sets me off. And every time I read a joke or a certain take about a certain case or this or other thing, I just reach for my tall boy of liquid death and just chug it down in one go. Because and slam the can down on the desk. And I'm just like, oh
Jesus.
But I don't know, man.
Do you have any final thoughts?
I've been really appreciating. Yeah, I just wanted to call and say I really appreciate what you guys are doing, as I always do. You've had some really great materials, some really great guests. I even saw Larson from Secret Galaxy, who's been on the show a couple of times. He showed up on Retro RGB. It's one of those channels I like to watch. And it kind of all ties into the Dr. O, bad hombres, like, reverse engineering things and making cool things out of it. And it's like seeing these worlds collide. But yeah, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys have had some hilarious, great commentary, great and vital commentary from all kinds of topics. And, I've been working crazy hours this month, but I go back and tune in. I got to say again, MT, go back and listen to yourself on the October 5th Champagne Room. That was just hilarious. A lot of stuff you were saying.
I will now.
All right, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. MT, you're hilarious all the time.
Oh, thank you.
You had me cracking up today. What was the song? And you turned into a Simple Minds song.
Spin me right round.
No, was it? We need to stop having inside jokes. Last night I showed Mac the video on the main show of the white chick with the super asymmetrical bob cut.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious. I think that's might have what got started down the MLK Pog Chaser rabbit hole.
There we go. That'll do
We need more MLK Pog Chaser. But we created also Harriet Tubman on the black Amex card character, and that was a one-off. We cannot do that again.
Inflammatory.
That was definitely like, you know how when you're on the show for so long, you forget that, oh, this is on the internet forever. Like this isn't a private conversation.
Right.
You get way too comfortable, and you're like, oh my god, I totally did Harriet Tubman impersonation. Like I don't remember the episode in which we had the Harriet Tubman black card as the backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad no one else does.
Yeah.
That was like 3 years ago.
That was a while ago.
You weren't even on the show then.
I wasn't.
If anything happened before you were on the show,
forget about it.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Dr. Claw, thank you so much for that phone call and reminding us of how fun that champagne room was.
That was I want to go back and listen to it.
Dr. Claw says, hey, yo, that haircut was nuts. That's still like my favorite little. She's got 3 biracial children, and they're all.
I just want to say John Graham was really funny on the champagne room as well.
That was that one, right?
Yep.
Dude, because he's a nut.
He's a nut.
He's like TIR fam.
Yes, he is.
One of the best. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, good people. That's all.
One of the best comments I got was I went on the Popular Show, that podcast, the Popular Show, and the first thing the host says, he goes, "Every time we turn on TIR, you guys are always having a good time."
Yes.
And I just want to be where the good time is. He goes, most people want to be where the good time is, and I want everyone like listening right now to know you guys are part of the good time. Like this is a huge, hang out with a few thousand of your best friends. Absolutely.
Let's get to our last caller.
Last caller, baby.
Not me. Hello. Okay. Here. Calling from a 559 area code. Caller, what's your name? What's on your mind? I lost my place.
Hey, that 559 will do it to you. See, it's those vibes. Jason knows about that.
Oh, dude, this my whole opening monologue is literally because of 559. Literally.
You're welcome. Nothing copyrighted here, so it's all good, man. It's all good.
That there's a 559.
Well, good evening.
I was in that area coming back, and I was like, oh man, I do want to pull off, and because I have a first cousin that actually lives in the area as well. I was like, I want to pull off and hang out. There's like people here I want to see and meet, and then I just go, I have to get out of here.
Your gut reaction is usually correct when it comes to that. So.
Like
it's like some. Mm-hmm.
I want to so bad, and then I was like,
well, that's not this place.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be plenty of time, and especially maybe if the earthquake happens, there'll be beachfront property, right?
Jesus Christ. Is that what everyone in Clovis is waiting for?
I think so. That, and then for all the non-whites to leave or something like that. You hear rumors, but
well, what's going on, brother?
Oh boy, well, I'm just trying to take a break and finally had a chance to listen to the show live, and was just going to try to contribute. I loved the sports talk last night, and I was going to say, Coach Prime. It happened the way, I kind of figured it would. Hey, you shock and awe, you beat a really good team, you beat kind of a patsy, but then you reach you choke with Oregon, but then you kind of come back and then we'll see what they do afterwards. Because, I mean, we'll see what kind of a coach he is. I think he's going to be okay. He's going to kind of figure it out, even though his press conferences leave something to be desired. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. I was going to comment mostly on because you hear a lot of in the Twitter sphere and whatnot, and how the right wins. Well, the right wins so much because they connect with the lived reality. They don't deny somebody like what they're seeing. Not only that, they don't give a shit whose name is on the letterhead. And what I mean by that, it's kind of like, because I hear a lot of people, around some pretty militant, Mexicans, blacks, Asians, and it's like, unless there's specific names on the letterhead or on the this or on the that, oh, it's crap. It's not for us. It's not. And you just have to sit back and think, you're insane. Like, and just all it turns into at that point, you're not talking to them. You're talking to the people around them, because there's people around them that don't buy into that shit as enthusiastically as they do. And it's important to kind of know when. And, it's a little bit of an art to know that, because, not every time is a time to, go and like, oh, no, you are this and that and that. No, just maybe let it go. If you don't have a good quip, if you don't have a good comeback, like MT, just let it go. Live to fight another day. You're better off not saying anything than saying something really stupid and condescending, because then you've lost them forever. It doesn't matter what you say after that; they're gone. Mm-hmm. But that's what the right does. They don't care. They just want the job done. And if their name's not on the letterhead, so what? Because look where they're at now. This didn't happen overnight. And because the one thing that I actually found interesting, because I'll listen to a lot of different things, and every once in a while you got to get your daily dose or weekly dose of batshit crazy. So you listen to like Steve Bannon. And if you do, I don't recommend it, but I'll just, so other people don't. Yeah, you find something very interesting about old Steve Bannon. I don't know how much he's on, broadcasting his, thing, but let's just say he's 20 hours a week. Mm-hmm. You only hear about the fire and brimstone, but the fire and brimstone would surprise a lot of people to know that's a small part of what he does. He is a very different guy when you listen to him on a regular basis. He's not he's not condescending. When he's talking to somebody he's trying to convert or to get to his side, Jason, you have a right to feel the way you do. You see those people over there, they're usually on the left. They don't like you. They think that what you're going through is a piece of shit because you're white. And they will berate you about that. Well, you're white. And I mean, 'cause I think Zine was on, in fact, I think this Barbara Fields, I saw another, talk that she was giving too, basically said, well, they still have white privilege, and you're done. You are absolutely, and they wonder why they lose. But the sad part is, people like that, if you could even call them people, they're okay with losing because they're self-righteous. They've won because they've made the self-righteous argument, and it's not about winning for them. It's about just, no different than just, put them in a hood, in a white robe, and they're basically no different. Mm-hmm. But when you get to the meat and potatoes of it, the vast majority, and that's why I think a lot of these things are working. The Writers Guild, or the who's that just won? Because I get them mixed up with the Screen Actors. No, the Screen Actors are still
the Screen Actors are still striking. The writers, the writers.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, but see, that stuff's working, and not only is that working, the auto workers is working. In fact, we can dicker over a lot of the details and the tactics, but see, people don't act. They forget that we're in a media environment that is incredibly anti-labor, anti-worker, anti-union. And as far as I'm concerned, the way they're doing it is good, because you got to get rid of that initial onslaught. Because, you go hard, fast, and heavy, buddy, you can't hit hard enough. There's no way you're going to hit hard enough. And people aren't going to starve, for somebody's like, radical chic wet dream. So, once we do that, and I think that's starting to happen slowly but surely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yes.
Oh, and see, that's, that's not sexy. It's not going to get you, on the evening news. But I think that's what's going on in the work that I do. I deal with a lot of business owners. I do taxes, business planning and stuff like that. So I have a wide variety of people who are Trumpers, who are not, and everywhere in between. It's funny, Dr. Claude brought up, I've heard California before. And the one time that I actually responded to that, and again, it was at the right place at the right time. Just, what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
And typically they don't even know what they mean. Well, they because they give, money from rich people into poor people. Are you sure? Does it do anything for them? Are they still rich?
Yeah.
Because it seems to me, you got to remember, California, you mean the state that brought us Reagan, Nixon?
Yep.
Who was the last state to legalize weed? Not the first state to legalize weed, not California.
Yep.
Have you been to the Central Valley or Orange County? It's just little things like that starts kind of turning it around, because I'm sure you've probably gotten the same thing. They find out you're from California. Oh, then they automatically have a predetermined stigma of what you believe, think, or whatnot. And if you show them just a little bit, I'm sure you saw that when you were in North Dakota, that changes minds, and that's powerful. And it's little situations like that. It's that interaction, sharing the same airspace. That's what's going to do it. It's not all that crap on Twitter. It's not all that crap online. The whole destroy, dox, I've heard is, the term being used. Because what have they elected? In fact, one of the things I'll just comment real quick. I love the Bernie hate, because to me anymore, and this has just, solidified itself over the years, it's because they're so jealous that he did something that they couldn't even begin to think about doing. Like a Jamu Baraka. I like that guy, but just what he posts sometimes on Twitter, it's like, oh Lord, okay, I get it. You gotta, stay relevant somehow. But like some of these other guys, you think, if you can't build on that, if you can't take that and learn from it and what to do, thank you for not being very relevant at all. Thank you for not being able to, do what you do. Just keep doing what you're doing. Whatever it is you're doing, I want you to keep doing it, because then the rest of us that have to work for a living are going to take care of the rest. Because at the end of the day, we're all workers. That's the one thing I think you've even seen that with, like with athletes, especially with, the health problems. Hey, they're the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
They get depreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And as cold as that sounds, that's exactly right. In fact, a good movie is, if you guys ever seen North Dallas 40.
Yeah. Old school. Yeah.
Very, very good. So that was like Any Given Sunday before Any Given Sunday. And I think it was a bit more real.
Any Given Sunday was based off North Dallas 40.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. Very large inspiration.
Yeah, I believe it. But okay, yeah, I believe it. But then, I think the most important scene that they left out was where he was talking to him at the end, and it's like, yeah, hey, we're the equipment. We're the, we get depreciated. They're the ones that, basically make all the money. And it's kind of like, like with the auto workers, you can't be running the damn company like that. And this is the thing that, I've actually told a couple of clients that were quasi anti-labor. Well, I don't know what these guys are. Why are they demanding this? And, do they get all the, do they want the, on the downside? And I said, well, the downside, they lose their job. And dead silent. And they make the cars. So what does the CEO do besides look pretty and collect a shitload of money that he doesn't deserve? That kind of slipped out, but they were at least listening. And it's again, stuff like that. You gotta acknowledge the lived reality. Then, okay, now you got credibility, because you're not telling me that, the sky's not blue, the air's not dirty, and you're going to try to explain to me, well, see, Jason, the juxtapositional manifestational ramifications of the man, what he does to your mind. confounds your eyesight. So then all you see is through the lens of white supremacy.
Oh, Jesus. Sounds like a nightmare.
That was good.
That sounds like a nightmare. That Tucson will tell you that's why I'm looking for the white yoga teacher.
Yes. That's a power couple. There you go, man. She's got to be like the Karenist Karen.
Yes. Very. All lives matter bumper sticker.
And then just have a little Mackay and, or, just come up with the weirdest sounding name you've ever thought of.
Oh,
or something just like,
No more kids. No more kids. I'm pulling out way early. No more kids.
Oh, fair. All right, fair enough. But then you still got to live. There's still a lot you can get out of it. So there you go. Shot across the bow, man. There it is. Let's make it happen.
Well, thank you very much for the call.
You guys do keep up the good work. You guys have a good night.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, Tucson, we did it.
That was fun.
That was a crazy call.
There
was a lot of things I wanted to say in response to that. Jamu comes on the show. We're all cool. I get, Pascal. I kind of wish he was here. I don't want to speak on behalf of him, but I'll just shut up. Pascal definitely has his critiques. There's something to be said about people that hate Bernie to hate Bernie. I think hating Bernie is like hating anything that's popular. Much like hating AOC. I mean, go ahead.
It's interesting. I was just watching a video about Balenciaga, and
okay.
They were the ones who stole the Bernie logo to make the Balenciaga logo.
Really?
And they were like, obviously we're aware of the political situation in the United States, but we just took it because it was popular.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's insane when we think about like how popular Bernie Sanders was.
It's true.
And how that movement got kind of kneecapped. I mean, I said it in the opening monologue.
Mm-hmm.
It only took, no one knew how to respond. And I think that's what the caller was trying to say. When you have these identity battles and people step up like that moment, no one felt comfortable responding because they didn't want to be called racist.
Right.
And that shit got weaponized. And Bernie Sanders kind of had to kowtow to that, and it didn't work out well for him, did it? And where are those people now? So we're going to go to the champagne room.
Yes, we are.
And we're going to continue this conversation.
Yes, we are.
We're going to add to it more insanity, as I have found more videos that I don't think Tucson has watched.
I have not watched any of them.
Ooh, yes.
Even when you send them at 3 a.m. Time difference be damned. It's still a ridiculous time for you.
I have to get content for the champagne room. I have to scour the internet for these so important clips.
That's what you tell yourself. That's what you tell yourself.
It is what I tell myself.
Sometimes I just look at my phone and I'm like, okay, he's on a roll. It's 4 a.m. He's on a roll.
I think I found a few good ones. Guess what else I found?
Oh boy.
What is our favorite app in the champagne room?
Our favorite app?
Movie app.
Movie app. I was gonna say Tinder. Movie app.
That is your favorite app because I've been off that. It's been a year now. I've been clean.
You've been clean a year.
I've been clean a year.
Right.
I get lonely. I start jonesing though. I'm like,
yes.
I have a superficial conversation with someone that'll never be with me. I want to drive way too far for casual intercourse. It does start with a T. You are wrong. It is Tubi.
Tubi.
There is a new Tubi clip
Oh
that
God.
could easily take up the whole show. And the clip is like 15 seconds. It's that amazing.
Gosh.
It's that amazing. Mark Owen said Tubi. Mark Owen, you are correct. We need to start having prizes we could give out. What? How much more money do we need to be able to give out prizes?
Mm-hmm.
Would you mail them out if we had prizes to give out?
I'd mail them.
And be like, and you get a thing, and then you get a thing.
Sure, why not?
What's a thing we can have? If you guys have an idea of something that we can send out for like comment of the day, should we do that?
How about this one?
Phone lines are closed. That's a great comment. Never. The comment says, never too far to drive for casual intercourse. You think that now, Doomsday Prophet, but cross a border. You have to cross an international border. I had house guests because I'm helping put together a documentary from a friend of show, Alexander Herbert, from his trip over in Georgia into Tbilisi. And a bunch of Ukrainian punks have definitely been displaced. The working title we're dealing with right now is Punk Rock Nomads. Have been displaced, and they're in Georgia now, and kind of following them around on their journey and their displacement, and how they're holding up and how they're managing to form community in basically a whole new land. It's been pretty interesting.
He speaks Ukrainian, or
he speaks a few different dialects in Russia.
In Russian, because
I think he got his master's out there.
Jeez.
Yeah. Super smart guy. Super smart. We had a lot of fun. He brought a friend with him, his friend Tommy. They've been friends since they were kids, and we definitely had a lot of typical leftist conversations. It was fun. It was a fun time.
Nice.
But taking them over the border took 3 hours.
3
hours. And we left at 3:30 a.m. So Doomsday, that's a commitment.
3 hours. And he didn't even get to have casual sex with them.
That I didn't.
That you didn't.
That was off. Pegging was off limits. Enough with the fun talk. We're going to the champagne room. You guys are going to join us. It's very easy. And if you're listening on Apple, you can just subscribe to the show and get access to hear the hilarity that goes on in the champagne room. There's tons of champagne rooms up. You can go back and listen to old. You can listen to the champagne room that Dr. Claw was talking about.
Yes, you can.
On Apple. On the audio only.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let me go to the end screen because M. Toussaint never likes to do this. She never likes to end the show.
What?
Oh, yeah. You're getting called out.
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, now you lost your hearing.
You didn't even open your mouth to say any of those things.
You're supposed to know when.
Don't do that. Don't post the effect like that. Because then it looks like you're frozen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to take care of everything now.
All right, guys. We are
out.